Hello, how are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. I have one of my cats with me, this right here that you can see. That's him. He's sleeping in my arms. Oh, he poked his head up because I woke him up. I'm sorry, sweetie. So what I want to talk about today is the quiet ways that we're unkind to ourselves. We may not even realize we're being unkind based on these things that we do. Sometimes when you think about not loving yourself or being unkind to yourself, you think of big things. But there's so many little quiet ways that we can be unkind to ourselves as well. So I want to talk about some of those. So the way we push ourselves can be unkind. If we push ourselves through pain or fatigue or emotional overwhelm, maybe because we have this belief that I should be able to handle this. Maybe we treat rest like something we need to earn instead of something we need. Maybe we ignore our body's signals until they become impossible to ignore. Maybe we keep going even when we know we're depleted and then blame ourselves for burning out. We can also be quietly unkind in the way we talk to ourselves. We may say things like, I'm just being dramatic, when something actually does hurt. We call ourselves lazy when we're actually exhausted. I know people who do this. We use words like should, or why can't I, or what's wrong with me. We believe our inner critic just because it sounds confident. It's not true. There's also the things we don't allow. Maybe we don't let ourselves celebrate small wins because they don't feel big enough to celebrate. We deny ourselves joy until everything is fixed. We feel guilty for wanting more ease, more support, or more softness. We don't ask for help because we don't want to be a burden. We can also be unkind to ourselves through comparisons, measuring ourselves against people that have different bodies, capacities, or circumstances, which is any other person that exists. That's a different body, different capacity, different circumstance. We compare our behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel, which is not the truth of them. We use comparison as proof that we're failing instead of noticing our own context. And we assume others are coping better than we are. We also may be unkind to ourselves through over-responsibility. We take responsibility for other people's emotions, despite the fact that it's not our fault. It's not our responsibility how other people feel. We believe it's our job to keep the peace at our own expense. And that's just not true. We feel selfish for setting boundaries. We stay silent to avoid disappointing someone. We may also be unkind to ourselves by minimizing our experience. We tell ourselves others have it worse, so we shouldn't feel what we feel. We downplay pain, grief, or exhaustion because it feels inconvenient. We force gratitude as a way to bypass discomfort. We brush past hard moments instead of letting them land. We also may be unkind to ourselves through productivity culture. It's very prevalent in our society. I know here in the US especially. So that looks like tying our worth to how much we get done. Feeling uneasy if we're not doing something. Measuring our value by output instead of by our presence. And feeling like we have to justify rest with productivity. We also might think we're doing self-care, but it's not actually care, and it's actually unkind. So we may use self-care as another thing to do right. We might use it as another thing that we are failing at because we don't do it consistently. We might force self-care practices that don't actually feel supportive for us. Self-care for one person may look completely different than self-care for you. And we treat healing like a checklist instead of a relationship. And it's a checklist that we're not doing well enough on. And then there's lack of listening. We don't ask ourselves what we need because we're afraid of the answer. We know what would help at times, but we feel undeserving of it. We stay disconnected from our emotions because they feel messy or inconvenient. And we move on too quickly instead of letting ourselves feel. These are just some of many ways that we quietly are unkind to ourselves, and we may not even realize. Do you see yourself in some of these? I know I see myself in some of them. I'm doing my absolute best to change it. I'm working really hard on it, and you should be too. I want you to be happy. I want you to be compassionate with yourself. I want you to be kind to yourself. I want you to love yourself fully and completely. That's what I wish for you. So a lot of unkindness doesn't look like full-on self-hate. It looks like pushing or minimizing or not listening. And most of us learn these patterns because it helped us survive. Maybe we had trauma in our childhood or even as an adult. There's a lot of different reasons that we may have come to this point doing these things that we're doing that are unkind to ourselves. So if you need more help, if you need help figuring out how to stop being unkind to yourself, take a look at some of my other videos. I have a lot of other videos on self-love. And I also want to invite you to join my free community on Skool. Skool is a lovely social media website, Skool. I have a community there called the Self-Love Scribe Circle. It's a women's circle, and it is for women who have a hard time caring for themselves just as much as they care for everyone else around them. So come join us there. We're supportive. It's free. I provide resources like printable journals and affirmation cards. We do journal prompts daily and have a lot of talks in there, just supporting each other and helping to lift each other up. The description will have the link to the group if you're interested. What I wish for you the most is to love yourself fully and completely. I hope you're able to do that one day. Sending you so much love and light.